Slow Dancing, P.O. Box 8250, Atlanta, Georgia. Remember, save COD charges by sending check or money order or use your credit card.
This is CNN.
To our viewers around the world, good evening from London. I'm Richard Blystone, sitting in for Hillary Bowker.
And good afternoon from Washington. I'm Ralph Begleiter, sitting in for Frank Sesno. Ahead this hour, the return of the Russian Cossacks. Ian Williams reports on concerns the Cossacks, known as the sword arm of the Tsars, may once again live by the sword.
Also ahead, soccer violence in Poland. The heated battle at the Polish Cup finals spills over into the stands. And the pinnacle of success, a conversation with a woman who trekked up Mount McKinley with 100-mile-per-hour winds roaring in her ears. We begin with the conflict tearing apart what used to be Yugoslavia. A conflict where one effort to end the fighting broke down today, while another appeared finally to be taking root. In Strasbourg, the European community failed to get peace talks on the protracted conflict off the ground. Our coverage begins with CNN's Christiane Amanpour.
Lord Carrington called the meeting in yet another last-ditch attempt to avert all-out war. But the people of Bosnia would probably say that all-out war is already underway. And as the fighting and killing there continues, Carrington's attempt to break the political impasse between Croatia, Serbia, and Bosnia failed. He laid the blame squarely on the shoulders of Serbian President Slobodan Milosevic.
My meeting with President Milosevic was disappointing. I had hoped that he would be willing, as suggested by me, to take concrete and specific and substantial steps towards solving the problems before us.
Milosevic refused Carrington's demand that he recognize Bosnia's independence, and even though the international community accuses Milosevic of supporting the Serbian onslaught, he denies it.
We are not supporting any military action in Bosnia and Herzegovina. We are only supporting our people to survive there with a humanitarian and civilian help, not with military help.
Yet Milosevic was able to say that Serbian military commanders in Bosnia have now agreed to withdraw their heavy artillery from the hills surrounding Sarajevo and to open the city's airport. But this didn't happen in time to enable the Bosnian president to fly out to the Strasbourg meeting. Instead, he sent his foreign minister, who proclaimed himself more pessimistic than ever about the prospects for peace.
It boils down to one question, actually. Is Europe and the world prepared to watch this carnage go on? This is the real question.
An independent humanitarian group in Bosnia estimates 40 to 50,000 people have been killed in the fighting. The U.S. is toughening its sanctions against Serbia, but it doesn't seem to be having any effect, and there are no new peace talks planned. So far, talks have done nothing to stop the civil war that's been raging for nearly a year in the former Yugoslav republics. And now that the United States is finally stepping up the pressure on Serbia, even NATO is making noises about the possible use of force, not only to keep the peace, but to make peace. Christiane Amanpour, CNN, Strasbourg.
Tomorrow on the International Hour, an interview with Serbian President Slobodan Milosevic about the conflict.
Another attempt to end the fighting in Bosnia-Herzegovina is being seen with skepticism in Sarajevo. Bosnians there have seen broken promises and failed diplomacy many times before. From Sarajevo, Edward Sturton reports.
This was Sarajevo after the announcement that the Serbs will cease attacks on non-military targets. Smoke rising from a residential district, a pedestrian sent scurrying from sniper fire. The UN commander here reacted to the Serbian promise with a caution born of experience.
This is a significant commitment by the Serbs, which, if carried through, would let UNPROFOR proceed with the implementation of the airport agreement. If it fails because of their actions, it will be a very serious setback to Serbian credibility.
It's difficult to see exactly how the distinction between military and civilian targets will be drawn. These Bosnian territorials are operating at the front line. This is where the two sides face each other in the west of the city. The Bosnians in these apartment blocks, the Serbians about 300 yards away in that village. It's close to the airport, and it's an area that's seen some of the fiercest fighting. Yet the apartment blocks that serve the fighters are still inhabited by civilians. Some are giving up and leaving, but many others have stayed despite the danger. By this afternoon, the streets had quietened, but no one is sure how long that will last. Edward Sturton, ITN, Sarajevo.
French farmers are making it clear they want to keep their government subsidies. Hundreds of farmers have been blocking highways in southern France for the past 2 weeks. Some of the protests have turned violent as police intervene. France belongs to the EC, which has agreed to cut agricultural subsidies to settle trade disputes with the U.S. and other countries.
For the second time in a week, violence has accompanied a soccer match in Europe. This time in Warsaw, Poland, where the Polish Cup finals were being played. The game was close. There was a number of fouls. Even the outcome was determined by a penalty, and the tension apparently got to some fans. They couldn't keep their emotions or their fists or their boots in check.
Miejmy nadzieję, że za chwilę gra będzie mogła być wznowiona.
No one was seriously injured. Earlier this week, nearly 200 people were arrested in Sweden following a European Championship semifinal match.
Still to come, U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary Louis Sullivan joins us. We'll ask him about what ails the U.S. health care system.
And who are the Cossacks? We'll have their story coming up.
Welcome to Hotel Views, the family getaway, Holiday Inn or Ramada. Bob?
Susan, you simple-minded sap. When I go away, I stay at Holiday. I go to the same room, the same restaurant, the same pool with the same wife and kids. Why change?
Bob, you hangnail. Ramada has comfortable rooms, nice restaurants and pools, just like Holiday. But at Ramada, kids, including teens, always stay free. See, change is good. Don't you ever change anything, like your socks? There's no argument. Ramada's in, Holiday's out.
This castle once had 26 bathrooms.
It'd be nice if one of them still worked.
Why?
What if my diarrhea comes back?
Relax. You took my Imodium AD caplets.
Just once. I usually take the pink stuff 2 or 3 times.
Imodium AD is much better.
Imodium AD caplets are so effective, they often work in one dose. Instead of dose after dose after dose, like the pink stuff.
Ready to go?
Before the sun sets?
Imodium AD for diarrhea, the choice for one-dose relief.
I really try to breed a dog who is beautiful and also has a great deal of hunting instinct.
Tom Wilson, top breeder of champion Weimaraners.
In any field competition, he's expected to go out and hunt and go back into the show ring another day. It's really important that the dog be bred right and then be fed right. Pedigree meat and the pedigree mealtime dry mixed together is the best combination I've ever found for my dogs. Pedigree has been a winning dog food for me.
Pedigree, developed with vets, recommended by top breeders.
Taste it, Grandpa.
He never would have tried this with his old adhesive.
Fix-It-Dent holds stronger than any other adhesive. It even stands up to the hottest liquids. For the strongest hold you can get, Fix-It-Dent and forget it.
From riot-torn Los Angeles to scandals in Washington, one man sees it all. Our top law enforcement figure, U.S. Attorney General William Barr. Tonight, Larry King Live, 9 Eastern on CNN.
As we join you again on the International Hour, there is a report of another bomb in London's financial district. We will have details of that when we can get them. Meanwhile, leaders of 11 nations managed to set aside their many differences today and sign a declaration for economic cooperation around the Black Sea basin. Several leaders admitted a European community-style trading bloc is just a dream, unless member states can resolve their ethnic conflicts. The presidents of Armenia and Azerbaijan diplomatically avoided discussing their undeclared war, but Moldova's president did speak up, demanding the withdrawal of Russian troops from the Nestor region, site of recent battles with secessionists. Moldova has accused Russia of backing a Slav separatist movement in the Nestor region. But late today, Russia and Moldova announced a ceasefire agreement for the disputed region, where a week of fighting has left hundreds dead. The separatists fear Moldova will reunite with Romania, of which it was part until World War II. Also, fighting on the front lines in Moldova are members of an ancient Russian order, the Cossacks. Cossacks believe they have a mission to defend Russian minorities in other countries. Ian Williams reports this belief is just one of many deeply held Cossack traditions.
With due ceremony, Vladimir Nikolsky is awarded the title of officer in the Union of Cossacks of the Don Army. He's one of Rostov's first millionaire businessmen and the biggest financier of the resurgent Cossack movement along the Don River. It's also his 60th birthday. Along with tributes to Nikolsky, they drink to the pre-revolutionary greatness of Russia and to the Cossacks, who were the most feared defenders of the realm. Celebrating with him are most of the new elite of Rostov, many former party worthies, but now dedicated disciples to the Cossack cause. To these people, a Cossack is somebody of the highest order.
Это значит быть прежде всего человеком высокого долга. Человеком ответственным за свою родину, за свою землю. Вот это, за свой народ.
Вот, и сейчас все должно быть направлено для того, чтобы возродить духовные и хозяйственные и национальные традиции такого края, как Донской. Это был один из оплотов России во все времена.
For centuries, the Don River represented freedom to the peasants who fled here from oppression in the north. The Cossack capital was Starocherkassk, 50 miles along the Don from Rostov. From here, their Christian communities lived a fiercely independent existence in permanent conflict with the surrounding Muslim communities and the Russian army. Much of that older history is in the town's small museum. The Cossacks became the protectors of Russia's borders, their independence respected by Moscow in return for military service to the Tsars. By the time of the revolution, there were more than a dozen Cossack groups around the far reaches of Russia. Those of the Don were perhaps the proudest and were the fiercest opponents of the Bolsheviks. These early newsreel pictures from the state archives in Moscow show leaders of the Don Cossacks with Tsar Nicholas II before the revolution and performing for him at the Summer Palace in St. Petersburg. They became known as the sword arm of the Tsars. The Don Cossacks were the whites fighting against the Reds, the Bolsheviks, in the Russian Civil War. And as a result, they were persecuted under the communists, their traditions crushed, their land seized. Today, one Cossack tradition that is being rapidly revived is religion. In Rostov, they're restoring old churches. This one was a local government office. Here, a visit by the man elected Rostov's ataman, or leader, by the 150-strong local Cossack group.
Ну, во-первых, казак – это православный христианин. И из этого исходит его и нравственный облик, и его поведение, его убеждения. Казак – это верующий человек, это человек, уважающий старших.
Together with religious revival, the Cossacks are pressing for the restoration of traditional communal land ownership and separate military service. There's a debate over whether they can in any sense be called an ethnic group. Here it's treated more as a voluntary organization, open to anybody who swears allegiance. Cossack traditions are now being revived in villages and communities throughout the Don region. For many, it's simply the rediscovery of a once proud culture ruthlessly suppressed by the communists. Others believe they have a mission, a military mission, to defend the interests of Russian minorities in other republics of the former Soviet Union. In Moldova, Don Cossacks are reported to be earning up to £300 a month to defend the Russian-populated areas against the majority Romanian-speaking Moldovans. Weapons are thought to come from Russian hardliners in the former Soviet armed forces. In Rostov, that's resulted in the government banning any members of the police or militia from membership of Cossack groups, who in turn defend their right to fight in Moldova.
А это неотъемлемая часть души казака. Он не может спокойно смотреть, если где-то испытывает нужду христианин, православный, русский. Он не может это терпеть, и он едет на защиту так же, как...
At the offices of the recently opened Cossack newspaper, the Don Army News, the front page carries a tribute to those who died in action. The paper publishes appeals for help from Russians in Moldova and in other areas, and provides support for the families of those killed in Moldova, though denies being involved in any formal recruiting.
Они ехали самостоятельно за свой счет. Мы могли только знать, что эти казаки брали отпуск и за свои деньги покупали билет и ехали туда.
Back at Vladimir Nikolsky's party, the mood has mellowed. The music is performed by a new Cossack chorus, created and funded by Nikolsky. An orchestra is planned. Along the Don River, among those who believe their ancestors created Russia, Cossack traditions exert a powerful pull. At its extreme, it's a pull fraught with danger amid the ethnic tensions of the former Soviet Union. Ian Williams, ITN, along the River Don in southern Russia.
Football fans, here it comes. Sports Illustrated gets you ready for the excitement of NFL football in this amazing new video. The 1992 Pro Football Spectacular, an action-packed preview of the 92 season. It's free with your paid subscription to Sports Illustrated. The best way to capture all the action and emotion of sports every week. Sports Illustrated's free video preview will put you in places you've never been before.
Stay at home if you don't want to get hit.
You'll not only get the best of last season, Sports Illustrated will give you their view of which teams could be next year's champions.
If I were to pick one right now, I'd say the Dallas Cowboys.
And who is the best coach, the best running back, and the quarterback you want in the clutch.
He's a great quarterback. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Starting today. Call this toll-free number now and get a spectacular 44-minute preview of the 92 NFL season. Free from Sports Illustrated.
I love you, Mom.
Plus, you'll get a second video free with your paid subscription. Sports Illustrated will give you the NFL video of your favorite team, no matter which team you prefer. Pick any one of the 2018 videos. It's your choice, and it's a free choice from Sports Illustrated. Your team video will take you through the 91 season from end zone to end zone, from the sidelines to the locker room. Plus, you'll find out what's new for 92.
Anybody nervous? Anybody scared?
Get your 2 free videos, then 30 issues of Sports Illustrated, including the 2 big football previews for only $1.49 an issue. Save 50% off the cover price. Call now to subscribe or renew and experience football from a different angle with Sports Illustrated and your 2 free videos. The Pro Football Spectacular, plus the NFL team video of your choice. For quicker delivery, use your credit card. With your 2 free videos, you'll catch the best of the year, and you'll keep the excitement coming your way every week in Sports Illustrated. Call now.
The health insurance gap in the United States has risen to about 1 in 8 people. The Census Bureau in the U.S. reports 61 million Americans have gone without health insurance over lengthy periods recently. Minorities, the young, city dwellers, the most likely to spend at least a month without health insurance, according to the study. Joining me now to discuss those findings, U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary Louis Sullivan. Mr. Secretary, there's another report that shows that minorities in the United States are also more likely than whites to be ill. That's sort of a 1-2 punch, isn't it? On the one hand, they have less access to health insurance. On the other hand, they may be sicker. How do you deal with that?
We're very concerned about that, and the President's plan that he proposed on February 6th of this year is designed to address that by giving access to health insurance for all of our citizens. We are concerned about that reality, the fact there is a disparity in health status between blacks and whites, or Hispanics and whites, the Native American community, and there is a problem of health insurance. But if we could get the Congress to respond to the President's proposals and take action on some of those proposals now, we will begin this process of correcting that problem.
Is there something that ought to be done? I think the U.S. is only one of maybe two, or perhaps fewer than two, or only a few more than that, countries in the world that don't have a health insurance, a national health insurance program. Is there something that you, as the health secretary, feel ought to be done about insurance combined with health care to make it a single national system that would apply to everyone?
Absolutely, we should enact the President's proposal. The President's proposal, with the dollars that we're already spending, would bring about changes in our health care system to meet the needs of those without health insurance, the poor, the unemployed, the part-time workers, and would also address some of the cost drivers in our system. We have a malpractice problem. The President's proposal addresses that. We have a problem of some people not able to get insurance at any price. The President's proposal would correct that position. And we have the problem of some companies sometimes losing their insurance, or people not being able to change jobs. All of these issues are addressed in the President's plan, which has been carefully crafted, and we want action. I hear this from our citizens all over the country, and we are prepared to move forward. We want to indeed enact the President's proposal to address this problem that we are confronting.
You mentioned a moment ago the disparity that we started out talking about between the way minorities suffer health illnesses and deal with health insurance and the way whites do. What does this say to other countries around the world? The United States is constantly telling other countries how to treat minorities. Does this set a good example?
Well, certainly it means we do have problems in our society, and these are problems that we must confront head up, honestly, and begin to deal with them. Having said that, I think it's fair to say that we do have a multiracial society in America that has succeeded more than any other such society anywhere around the world. So while we look at the shortcomings that we have in our society, and while we criticize those shortcomings, and we must correct them, and I'm committed to seeing that they are corrected as a black American, I also want to say that we realize that we have many things in this country that other countries don't have, all of our freedoms that we have, but we must address the problems and the deficiencies that we have. And so far as our health care problem is concerned, the President's proposal is right on target, and we want to enact that proposal. It's there before the Congress. We want them to act.
Now, another problem affecting minorities more than others is AIDS. You've met with a U.S. commission that was appointed by President Bush and by Congress jointly to study the AIDS problem. Now they say that after that meeting, they're convinced your administration's not doing anything about their recommendations to improve the AIDS situation.
Yes, I just learned just a few minutes ago about this press release from the AIDS Commission, and I must say that it takes me and members of my department by surprise. We had what we thought was a very productive, effective, positive meeting. We related how the funding for AIDS has gone up since President Bush took office by 170%. We've talked about improvement of our drug approval process, where we are now approving new drugs for AIDS in record time. We talked about our efforts in Puerto Rico, where I recently announced our increase of funding for AIDS there, where we had a congressionally imposed cap on our Medicaid funding. And we talked about a whole range of things. The President having spoken out about this, we talked about how we worked to see that the Americans with Disabilities Act had a provision in there to prevent discrimination against people with the AIDS virus. None of this, none of the positive things that we have outlined really were mentioned at all in this press release. So it brings a question into my mind about the balance, the fairness, and the accuracy of this kind of release coming from a body that is supposed to give the American people balanced, complete, responsible information. That's not been done.
Well, you're talking about a commission that has issued a statement calling the administration's efforts on AIDS tragically insufficient. Are you telling Magic Johnson and the other members of that commission that they just aren't being fair?
Absolutely. Being completely unfair. No recognition whatsoever of all of the things we discussed with them to correct their misperceptions. It is though that press release had been written before the meeting and was released in spite of the meeting. I say that that is inaccurate, it's unfair, and it's a disservice to the American people.
Thank you very much, Health and Human Services Secretary Louis Sullivan, for joining us on CNN. For more on the CNN International Hour, Dick, back to you in London.
We are now told by the police in London that there has indeed been an explosion in the city's financial district near the Bank of England. The police say the blast took place just about a half an hour ago. At this hour, most of the workers in that area would have gone home, and there are no reports of damage or injury. We'll have more details as we get them. This would appear to be the latest of a bomb campaign by the Irish Republican Army, which has set off several bombs in London this year as it tries to bring its Northern Ireland terror campaign to the British mainland. Meanwhile, protesters on both sides of the abortion issue have taken to the streets of Germany. Today, the nation's parliament grapples with that thorny issue left unresolved during the euphoria of reunification. Demonstrations began in the days leading up to today's debates and scheduled vote. At issue whether a united Germany would keep the West's restrictions or give women the right to decide on abortion. Ahead on the International Hour, ending the slaughter of the endangered black rhino. Will removing the object of the poacher's desire make a difference?
Then, fending off death in a quest for the summit of Mount McKinley. Our guest is a woman who had weathered a dangerous storm to reach the top. We'll be back.
From John Grisham, best-selling author of The Firm and The Pelican Brief, two great thrillers about lawyers on the run, comes the story of a lawyer on the spot in the searing courtroom drama, A Time to Kill. Now in Island Books paperback.
Dentists tell you to change your toothbrush every 3 months. So does the Oral-B indicator. When the blue band fades halfway, it's time for a new brush. The